welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. And greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Well, once again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott, and I am filled with love, and I am appreciating all who have already stopped in, sharing their greetings. We are a community here. There's one that's building organically, naturally. It's just beautiful. Sincerely, thank you to all of you who are joining in today, whether it's here currently on whichever platform or whether it's in the future. Today again, I hope to have some fun and talk about some big topics. Some really, well, some topics that are relevant to life. So here today, sincerely, we're just having a little fun. Back in the old days, same fireplace, right? Back in the old days when Jack was in a little better shape and had less gray in the beard. What was I? Yeah, today the topics we discuss ways to find and bring more peace, love, and joy into your world. Right now it's our world, but as we part ways, your world continues with you. And I believe your world deserves more peace, love, and joy as well as mine. That's why we're here. My thoughts today were really about some recent concepts and ideas, observations I was reminded of. What's the distance between heaven and hell? How far apart are they? Between 12, 15 inches apart, really. You get lost in hell. You start traveling too far in that infinite mind you carry. You can end up in some pretty dark places and bring your body into hell. I've experienced my own versions. And yes, this is what I realized. In this life we've been given as a human being, life being expressed through us in a human form, we here on earth, right? There's lots of disagreements in the philosophies and the religions, but here on earth at this exact time, heaven and hell are both being experienced by different people, different versions of you and me. They're experiencing hell. And I tell you what, I feel one with God's presence. I feel whole with God's love. I feel healthy and whole and pure and blessed. I feel as though I am in heaven. And in this exact same house with my alcoholism, my dark, suicidal, miserable thoughts. Oh man. I felt as though I was in hell, but there are real life people today like you and I that are truly experiencing an absence of love, an absence of hope, of faith, of kindness. There are men and women and children alive right now who are, praying for mercy. Hell on earth is real. And each day, right, if we don't pay attention to what we're doing in our life, we'll float along back and forth, bouncing between moments of heaven, moments of peace and joy and love and tranquility and, maybe even ecstasy. So we'll bounce between moments of joy and freedom into more time in hell, suffering, going along just to get along, while other people are truly being tormented with life as they know it right now. So, brothers and sisters, we bounce between heaven and hell until we consciously decide. And conceptually, I think many people here on earth have decided the course of hell, to become rulers in this hell. While others are suffering, they live as rulers with their own heaven. And then that was one of the things I was considering about earlier too, is maybe there's glimpses of heaven even in hell. Because in the torment of hell, right, there would be, I'd assume there'd be a hierarchy of torment and levels perhaps of the suffering. But for those who are, loyal to the rules and principles of hell, I'd assume they'd be rewarded by something. If anything, just the ease of their suffering. But brothers and sisters, the other choice for us is clear. The other choice is pretty obvious once you actually stop and think about it. The other choice is to devote ourselves to heaven, to set the goal within us, to realize a goal within us. We have the opportunity to bring the blessings of heaven here to earth, wherever we go. Through the spirit of love and authenticity, we can bring peace amongst us. I know it's possible. With God, all things are possible. That's what I trust to be true. Hey, yes. I think hell is a complete separation from God and from love. Oh, I've heard testimonies, people who I know and people who I don't know, who have testified to like supernatural experiences where like God showed them, hey, this, you don't want this. Separation from God would be a separation from the mind that knows, separation from the heart that gives, the love that is. Hell is. Hell is a state of experience. Hey, Swinsbirds, yes, please. I actually humbly pray that that may be part of this adventure. Please do the algorithm things too. Those tuning in, please help support this adventure, right? Let others know that let others know that life is happening here. And where I am, I hope to be an ambassador to heaven. Heaven is where freedom is really known, where the infinite possibilities are real and realized. And each of us, oh, that reminds me, I prepared some stuff today. I forgot. A path to knowing the difference between hell and heaven, getting into our heart. Our heart allows us to realize the knowing, to realize the peace. Our heart, when we surrender to our heart, that's where we can truly begin to know. So I'm bringing this up. This gentleman, Chris Cade, I don't really know. Oops, wrong one. I don't really know how I came across him. I think it was actually on Facebook. And I get daily messages with A Course in Miracles. And I've mentioned this before. So I just dropped in the link, his Patreon page, and I encourage see what he's sharing. The Today's lesson I felt very inspiring and I wanted to share it. Let me do this real. The ideas, escaping the mind to get into the heart. Here, that's the reason I'm bringing these up. These ideas are to help us escape the traps of the mind, to maybe change the perspective that we see and perceive ourselves in the world. And I felt this wisdom was certainly worth being shared. So it's not my words; these came from, like I said, it's either directly from the Course in Miracles or it's through his work. So realizing my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. The true nature is that we are invulnerable. So it's our attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. How can I know who I am when I see myself as under constant attack? Pain, illness, loss, age, and death seem to threaten me. All my hopes and wishes and plans appear to be at the mercy of a world I cannot control. Yet perfect security and complete fulfillment are my inheritance. I've tried to give my inheritance away in exchange for the world I see, but God has kept my inheritance safe for me. My own real thoughts will teach me what it is. There's a difference, and this is the point behind these lessons. There's a difference between the thoughts that are real and the thoughts that are imagined. The thoughts that are real are true, and all that is true comes from God, from our Creator. And we want to honor and respect and appreciate that which is true. So here's some ideas, okay? If you recognize you're feeling attacked, check in with your thoughts. And here, above all else, I want to see. Recognizing that what I see reflects what I think I am, I realize that vision is my greatest need. The world I see attests to the fearful nature of the self-image I have made. If I would remember who I am, it is essential that I let this image of myself go. As it is replaced by truth, vision will surely be given me. And with this vision, I will look upon the world and on myself with charity and love. So this goes back to the idea too of surrendering the ego. If I would remember who I truly am, it's essential that I let this image of myself go. And even the scripture talks about that, allowing the first death. That's the baptism, the renewal, the recommitment, the redevotion, seeking to know the truth. Because as we see the truth, the vision of deception and confusion, it falls away. So as it is replaced by truth, vision will surely be given me. And with this vision, I will look upon the world and on myself with charity and love. That's the goal. Above all else, I want to see differently. The world I see holds my fearful self-image in place and guarantees its continuance. While I see the world as I see it now, truth cannot enter my awareness. I would let the door behind this world be open for me, that I may look past it to the world that reflects the love of God. It's, as it said, the pure shall see God. So seek to see beyond the corruption and beyond the manipulations and deceptions, to see the world with and through the love of God. Above all else, see differently. And here, God is in everything I see. Behind every image I have made, the truth remains unchanged. Isn't that the truth? Behind every image or opinion we make, the truth remains unchanged. Behind every veil I have drawn across the face of love, its light remains undimmed. Beyond all my insane wishes is my will, united with the will of my Father. See, beyond all my insane wishes is my will, united with the will of my Father. God is still everywhere and in everything forever. And we who are part of Him will yet look past all appearances and recognize the truth beyond them all. And the truth beyond them all is God. And God is the goodness. God is that which reveals the goodness that we can all seek to know and to see in our minds. Seek to know God in everything I see. Is that the same? No. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. In my own mind, behind all my insane thoughts of separation and attack, is the knowledge that all is one forever. I have not lost the knowledge of who I am because I have forgotten it. It has been kept for me in the mind of God, who has not left his thoughts. And I, who am among them, am one with them and one with him. That, you know, I don't know. I find the wisdom to be beautiful. And Jimbo Khan, I didn't understand that long ago. Truly, God, I offer myself to thee. The God of our creation, man. The God of our creation. And that allows us to be and to be realized. Oh, glory, man. I would add honesty to self is also honesty to the Most High. Amen. In this time of judgment, we should all be addressing the planks in our own eye, not the twig in others. Well said. Blessings to you. Sincerely, that line, and this is into the topic, that difference between hell and heaven, where is it found? Through our choices. The choices we make, which only take a moment. Choices are instantaneous, yet choices, they can change the direction of our lives very quickly. So, realizing the power of choice, realizing the power of mind, those powers within you, yield them wisely. You know, use caution when going into the darkness of your mind, when you're exploring the darkness of the world. Take a friend with you. Take a friend, which is the knowing that you always have a friend with you. And that friend that's with you is God in various forms, whether it's your eternal soul or the spirit that's greater than you or the power and intelligence of your ancestors or whatever it is, there is more to you than you. There always was. This was actually the thought I was thinking of earlier, was the idea that how we end up alone. How we end up alone in this world of, what do they say, 7, 8 billion people? That's a lot of people. I can't even conceptualize a billion. I mean, that's a lot of people. Why did I bring up all the people? Oh, we end up alone. How do we end up alone? Well, by God's will, God's plan, God's purpose, everything happens. But let's move beyond God into the influence that we have on ourselves and each other. What separates us most is arrogance. Arrogance pushes people away. And this is what I didn't realize I had been doing in my past, and I see it happening now. For those who know, you know, our friend Paul Unslaved is one who I was thinking of when these ideas came up. The idea that our arrogance pushes people away. It pushes away kindness. And why does that happen? Why do people get arrogant and actually push kindness away from them? It's the behind the arrogance is an insecurity. And see, it's our insecurities. The way we're designed, God is so perfect. God is so perfect. How do I know that? Because we are perfect in our design. It just makes sense. See, we can live with love or not. The autocorrect system is already built in within us. The thoughts drive the chemicals and energies we experience. There's like this perfect process of form and nature and energies that we're like experiencing. And God, I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident God's got it all worked out, man, perfectly. Um, I don't know. I don't know what God knows or doesn't know. I just know what I can find and discover, and finding the patterns in the way that life unfolds. Golly geez, sometimes it's so obvious. Sometimes the patterns in life are so obvious, it's just ridiculous. And the fact that we think we can't overcome those patterns is a symptom of, well, I don't want to point fingers of blame. It's just a fact. Through design, the political systems, the economic systems, the entertainment industry, education industry, all of these systems and industries have corrupted mankind. It's mankind that created the corrupted systems and industries, but c'est la vie, right? All that comes forth, I believe that everything that truly comes forth originally is for good, for God. But of course, we live in a realm that things get corrupted, things get misused. Power is a good example. The power of position, the power that's brought in by authority. See, authority only exists when it's enabled, when it's when other people believe in it. Here's the ultimate authority, brothers and sisters. Consider the ideas of hell and heaven. Consider them as true. Heaven is the goal, and you can achieve the goal in your here and now, wherever you go, by surrendering. Surrender to the love that is. Spend time imagining the love beyond you. And as we spend our time in love, like literally, not in love with someone or something, just in love for being. Because love, I believe, is our natural state. And brothers and sisters, love will change this world. The absence of love brought the corruption. And the absence of love is shown how? Selfishness. See, those who are insecure, those who are afraid, they become real selfish and defensive, ready to attack for any reason. That false arrogance, well, it's a true arrogance, but that arrogance of false courage, perhaps, it's hiding insecurities. Many people today are carrying insecurities because of things that happened to them when they were little, things that were outside of their control. But the world we were born into has been enabling evil. And the only reason evil has power is because good men and women are afraid of the suffering that may happen if they press back and demand some change. Fear and anxiety and guilt and shame, those aren't the things that we're supposed to have. If you're carrying fear and anxiety and guilt and shame with you day to day, probably have a lot of anger, maybe some depression too. Those all go hand in hand with the darkness. Those things lead us to hell. Sometimes it's very tempting, right? Sometimes it's very tempting to be angry. Oh, there's so many reasons to be angry. Oh, there's so many reasons to be sad and upset. That's a path you can choose. And by succumbing to that temptation to be angry and upset, to choose that path for yourself, it can lead you directly to hell. Because what is hell? Hell is an absence of love. God's love is always there, but how close are you to love? That's the question of the day. How close are you to love? Hey, Provo, starting to enjoy the New World Order and their plans. Any advice? I actually see some light in what they've offered. The thing is the interpretation and implementation of what they're suggesting. And this is the beauty of this game of life. God works in such mysterious ways. Here, you're starting to enjoy the New World Order and their plans. Any advice? Yes. Join me. Join me in bringing forth ideas that are a little bit different, but that would benefit all of humanity in the near term and long term. Join me. Let's see how much we can grow. Provo, yes. Your 200th is tomorrow? Beautiful. Brother, join me. Let's see how rapidly and how great we can rise. I think we got the talent. We've got the right messages. I think it's the time. Surrender to this system, knowing that resistance only feeds the machine. It depends on how the resistance is applied and executed. Because resistance done in the right way, well, water has a power, it's undeniable when it's coming in force, but at the same time, just the simple persistence of water brings forth erosion and changes the environment. And that's what we are, brothers and sisters. I believe, right? Hell and heaven. Let's swing back a couple of these topics. The idea how arrogance in this life can push people away. And it's tied to our insecurities. Our insecurities come from a lack of trust. And why would we have a lack of trust? Most often, if we weren't honest. See, our own denial, when we deny accepting responsibility, we create these excuses for distrust. And that distrust becomes an arrogance because we think we know. We think we know best. We can't trust someone else. They can't come into our inner circle. They can't know who I really am. It's a sign of vulnerability. So we're only as vulnerable as we believe, right? We only have as many enemies as we perceive and we create. But I believe truly that God's will, God's view of us all is as one. We are all unified together from God's perspective, from a perspective that's beyond space and time. We are all here and now. So the obvious is so simple. The world we know could be so much better, so differently, if one thing happened, if people learned how to get along with each other. And I actually think people can learn how to get along with each other pretty easily when they stop fighting. See, it's when we stop fighting people, when we stop finding reasons to argue and to disagree, we can communicate. And when we communicate, we can understand each other. We can find the similarities between us and respectfully find the boundaries between us as well. But I think in the future, when more people realize the true power and presence and will of God, I think as more people realize those things, we won't be as worried about building the big fences between us. We'll be finding ways to nurture the fields between us. How can we capture the most resources, develop the most from what we have together? Because together, brothers and sisters, united, if we simply choose to connect with each other, connect with the truth, connect with the love that's available. And all of those things are available. There's no separation between the truth and each other and love. All of those things are there and available for us to share with each other. Fellowship and relationships, those are darn important in our lives because honest feedback from people who care, who want to help nurture you and your growth, nurture you and your happiness. The power of love that develops in healthy relationships, man, I can't say I've experienced it firsthand, like these healthy relationships, but I sure do know how to create one next time. Next time I have. Praise God. Brothers and sisters, I am so filled with hope and excitement and faith in the future. I did say that. I'm going to go volunteer my time and talents to those who want to reduce the population. I seriously was a long time ago. I really would have been I would have been one of Bill Gates's greatest supporters a long time ago. I think I understand him. This is what I realized. Oh, this was another thought from earlier. Praise God. for you, for your purpose, your life, for the rest of your way of being. I encourage you to broadly get more clarity on who you are and the role you play in this life. I'm going to narrow this down, what I'm talking about. Find the similarities that truly exist between you and what you are, what is natural for you to do. And then see the similarities between you and Jesus, the example. I believe all of us, in our own ways, we're all here to be teachers. We're all here to be students as well, lifelong students, and we're here to help teach. We're here to help heal as counselors, advisors. We're here to help nurture life within ourselves and around us. If you can find that purpose within yourself, and you don't need a certificate and you don't need a degree, because really what we're talking about, a teacher, a counselor, a mentor, a leader, you know what those are? Those are just a good person. Your purpose in life is to be a good person wherever you go, whatever you're doing. It's as simple as that. So what's a good person? Sometimes that requires thought. Most times that just requires, I don't know. My first thought was action. My second thought was presence. Maybe it is. A good person simply offers forth their presence, and then the moment in the present will direct the good person for what's needed. Life is much simpler when we do surrender our ego and our will, when we allow the truth of God to be known by yourself. I encourage you, whatever religion or faith you found, explore your path to know God, because there is a similarity. And here's another, golly geez, man. God has blessed me so much. The blessings I know and I realize are much the same as everybody else, you know, health and time alive, the opportunity to learn, the opportunity to reflect and realize different things. My blessings are no different than yours, but holy cows, man. What a difference change can bring. God has allowed me the past several years to basically spend time alone and to think and to observe and to study. And my path of learning has been incredible. It's a story in itself. I'm telling you, the story of Jack, there's a production waiting to come forth. Who's the second person? Learning when you teach yourself. The ego is. The ego, our mind, that was another idea. Personalities, right? Personalities in this society that we were born into, where everything is commercial and regulated and whatever. People have developed these egoic conditions. Now, the word narcissism is thrown around and it's used quite a bit. And there's been people who want to throw that title on to me as well. Narcissism. It's simply an extreme version of the ego. Now, the ego I'm talking about in this case is the one that is selfish, self-centered, very egotistical. We understand what that means, being egotistical, self-centered, selfish, prideful. arrogant. There's a true, I've heard enough secondhand, I mean, I've read, I haven't communicated firsthand with many of these people I'm referring to here, but I've seen and learned from enough testimonies, people who have dealt intimately with narcissists and truly, truly cold-hearted people. And that is psychopathy. I don't know the right terminology or label to assign it, but at the extreme end, these cold-hearted, logical-minded, very manipulatable, they're very manipulative. These people, they exist. They're a result of the natural tendencies that are in a person when they're cut off from the feelings of love without realizing and identifying the expression of love that is within and around. And there are many people, we're all on our own individual, unique lives and development of consciousness. We're all on our own spiritual path, and everyone alive is behaving at the level of the mind that they know, the level of mind that they've been allowed by the world and by themselves. So everyone is behaving as they want, consciously or unconsciously. The purpose of life and what we're here to do is to grow in our consciousness, to unite your mind, the mind within you, unite that with the infinite mind, the mind that brings forth all of creation and all of experience for you to discover. Because we are the life that is happening today, wherever you are. And there's an aspect of life that's all around this world that we're all connected to. And that source of creation, all the past effects and the perfect order of the past, it brought us into the world that we're in today. But brothers and sisters, I'm speaking as, a man young. When I was young, I raised my hand to serve the nation of America as a citizen and a soldier. And what is happening in this world today? It's true evil. And I'm seeing such a missed opportunity this lifetime. I mean, I don't know what God wants me to do. I truly don't. I don't have that arrogance, and I suggest you don't have that arrogance either, but everyone's on their own path, I know that wars are happening now, and wars are the results of disagreements, often confusion. Those disagreements and confusion are often the result of denial and enabling. So we have wars that are happening right now here on earth where other men and women and children like us are living in hell. That's their experience today. By the grace of God, through our will, through God's will, should God's will and our will align, I believe today we do have opportunities. We've got technology. We've got the freedom of thought, the ability to believe that the world can change, and then to accept that we are a part of this world that is changing, and realize that we have the opportunity to influence the direction of this world and its changes. How? Through the power of the truth. by becoming the honest and authentic expression of love, fearless love, divine love, love without excuse. I'm talking about the love shown through the example of Jesus, the Christ. It was by God's grace we, mankind, were given the example and the instruction manual, basically, and the free will to learn or ignore. Brothers and sisters, the difference and the path between hell and heaven, it's found through our choices. Our choices will bring us to different connections. The connections we hold on to, the connections we keep around, or the connections we let go. Those connections, through cooperation or lack of cooperation, the connections and our choices take us to hell or to the infinite realm of heaven. And heaven is infinite in its forms, in its experience, as are you. You can align yourself with the heaven that's within you, because the kingdom of heaven, hello, when you repent from your sins, I mean, it's just obvious in logic. Holy cows. Before I get into that, this was an observation I was reminded of earlier. Praise God, first of all. By God's grace and the power of mind, we have the skills and ability of logic and reasoning. Now, logic and reasoning, those are powerful tools. If you look back in history at the forefathers, there were those who identified themselves as Christians, yet they disbelieved the miracle stories. They were men of reasoning, and reasoning is the way of man. Reasoning is the God. That's a partial truth. See, here's the part that I came to realize. Our logic and our reasoning can bring us a lot of fear and anxiety. Our logic and reasoning can bring a lot of reasons for anger and hate. Our logic and reasoning can drive us mad if we jump to conclusions. If we use our logic and reasoning to imagine answers, jumping to conclusions, not realizing that the number of variables that are considered when applying logic and reasoning, the number of variables is important. Because when you apply math, logic, reasoning together, it's the variables and the weight or application of the variables which is going to bring you to a true conclusion or a false conclusion. And brothers and sisters, there are enough lies in this world. We do not need more. Please realize that. We do not need more lies in this world. What resolves our disagreements is love, is the truth, finding agreement, finding resonance. I mean, sincerely, what really makes life worth living? Well, there's so much. Praise God. God, I know I said it earlier, but God is good. God is the good. God's goodness is abundant. When you know where to look and how to see. But it's not as complicated as it seems. Our God wants us to have clear conscience. A clear conscience means without guilt, without shame, without resentment, without clouded judgment and false memories. Our God wants us to be true so that we are authentically true participants in God's creation, serving forth life to those we experience. And what is life? Life is love. Life is not hate. Life is not fear. Life is not shame. So, as you go through your day, as God allows you to experience the time of today, and maybe starting today, and as God allows you to experience the rest of your life, pay attention to the present, to who you are, realizing that if you allow it, perhaps the Holy Spirit could flow through you so strongly that those around you might receive healing just from your presence. I mean, the stories of Jesus and the miracles that were recorded, if you stop and think about stuff like that, I mean, your logic and reasoning, it may find excuses to make an exception. It might come up with a logical explanation. But what I realized, using logic and reasoning by God's grace, okay, all of this by God's grace, I was allowed to realize a lot of different things about myself, about this world we live in. And the way I was allowed to realize more things about myself and this world we live in, it was through my life path. It found me alone. In hindsight, it was my arrogance. I yelled at people because of my expectations. I came across, my confidence in what I knew and my judgment. I made excuses and I yelled at people. They allowed my arrogance that was shown to be an excuse to push me away. So, the topic today, right? What I was talking about. Hell is when you're isolated and you're separated from love. And arrogance keeps us away. It creates these walls that are real challenging for people to get through. And without connection, without the acceptance of kindness and love, well, you end up staying alone. But in my path, I realized my past mistakes, and I'm continuing to find ways to make things right, so they say. But I have faith. This is all God's plan. So anyway, when I was having time alone with opportunity to reflect and really consider, I mean, I did, rather than going to a cave somewhere in the mountain like I thought I might. God allowed me to have shelter and modern comfort this whole time. But in my time and period of reflection and realization, or the realizations I came to, is that the power of the mind, I learned it from other people too. There's a lot of people teaching this stuff, but the power of mind is really underestimated. And it was when I started allowing myself to search more for the limits of my knowledge rather than the memories of my knowledge, that's when I think I kind of shifted. I had to retrain my mind to open, because having a decent mind, realizing I was kind of smart in the past, it gave me an arrogance, and I didn't always listen to people as closely as I could have. I see many people today doing things like that, even here with me sometimes. But this is the life we're living. We're all learning and growing together here in this experience. It was just connected me, or it took me a little bit to connect. I'm not trying to gaslight logic, but I am offering that it's a sharp and powerful tool, and it should be used wisely. Logic can bring us to hell if we don't think thoughts through. And I really had to practice challenging myself when I jumped to a conclusion, because I was usually right in some of the things, many things, but I had to think thoughts through and think, okay, if A, then B, if B, then C, C, then D. And as I started doing that more and more, I started realizing more and more the power of mind. One of the things I've shared before, and it gets mocked, but that's okay. The idea of choose more, do less. See, you can save yourself a lot of physical energy, emotional energy, all of that stuff if you think your thoughts through. You actually organize and gather your steps within your mind. In your mind, you can lead yourself in directions that may turn out to be foolish. But if we don't think things through, well, what ends up happening is people make short-sighted decisions by, well, causing disruptions and disagreements, conflicts where there was none necessary. Hey, I had to humble myself to this. God's logic is beyond mine because God's perspective is not limited by space or time. When I look at the world and I see the insanity, I have to remind myself it's my insanity that I'm seeing, simply because I don't see the big picture. Realizing that there is a bigger picture and there's a perspective that's beyond what I may know, I humble myself. I have faith in God. And I realize, what can I control? Only me. And I can only control me if I'm paying attention to me. I guess, what can you control? In theory, that which your focus and attention is on. Because if you're dealing with tools and such, you're whatever. I don't want to overthink that. The purpose is, what can I control? I can control me. Well, what is me? It's who I am. Who am I? I am that which God has created me to be. In my past, I used to think that I was who I created me to be. And that's a partial truth. I'm responsible for every choice, everything I've done, said, and thought throughout my life, as are you. What we all are is as God created us to be, and that's where we are and who we are and how we are right now. Now, in the future, recognizing that my purpose, my desire from now on, and I made this choice a while ago, but continuing daily, my will, my hope, my desire is to align my will with God's will. God's will for me and for this world that I see. And I see this world through God. God is in everything I see. And I know in my mind, behind all my insane thoughts of separation and attack, within my own mind is the knowledge that all is one forever. How glorious to be a part of that. To be a part of that which is, that which was, and that which will ever be. I actually have faith too, that in this lifetime that you and I, what we are experiencing today, not claiming to be a prophet or nothing, but just an ordinary man who pays attention. And I've got a mind and heart with the willingness to see what is happening. What is happening in this world today, from where I sit in America, is a divide. It's the time that was foretold. It's time. The kingdom of God is here upon us. Are you ready to receive it? Are you ready to purify yourself and detach from the old ways of the world? Are you ready to put down the fears and the anger and the hate? Are you ready to give up the ideas that you're all alone? I am. I'm ready to know within my heart that love is present and abundant here on earth, wherever I go. And I do. Wherever I go, I find myself offering prayers, sending thoughts of health and peace for those who I encounter. And, brothers and sisters, if you just find peace within yourself, moments of heaven, carry the heaven within you and realize that as an ambassador of heaven, you may be challenged. You probably will. I mean, that's the whole point of life, is for us to be challenged and refined, to be strengthened in our character. And I'm telling you, the character you want to emulate, become the image of Jesus from wherever you are, however you are. And the image of Jesus in my mind is one who praise God, shares the glory of God, not just through words, but through deeds, offering forth love, support. I do. I pray for the opportunities to bring healing, to, well, help bring peace. That truly is my goal. I'm going to take a chance and welcome Browns Boy.
Jack, man, I got to be honest with you, man. I appreciate, some of the things that you do, share and stuff like this. And I
Thank
got to
you.
be honest, like this is got to be the third or fourth time I've been brought up after almost the exact words of, I'm going to take a chance today. So you take a lot of chances, which is interesting, it's just a fun thing.
It is. Well, every day, to be honest, my friend, every day I pray for a different result. Because honestly, despite my efforts, and I don't mind to, it's challenging to know if what I'm doing is worth anything. Because in my life, I I don't know what to do to change things in my life. And what I hope for each day, honestly, is that people will be interested in what I'm sharing, what I'm saying.
I mean, I honestly have learned, and I know that in your mind, for whatever reasons, man, you have about a 60% like, 40% dislike of me, like in your head. I feel like 60-40, you like me, 40 you don't. And yeah, I just think, I don't know where we're going with that. But yeah, dude, I think it's just like, oh, okay, so is it worth it? Yeah, I've learned, definitely learned some things and I've employed them in my life. Uh, Mostly, I would say, on terms of communication. You've really shown me a few uh, uh, persistent uh, ways of basically being heard in a positive manner. So I've tried to incorporate that along with like other people too, like TML does a really good job for the most part, I'd say, of like being real nice to people and stuff when like I have little patience, I think that's something everybody deals with at some time or another. And but yeah, like a display of patience is actually really, really interesting thing.
Thank you.
And
I've been, oh, go ahead.
yeah, that's just I think that's how we learn. Uh, because like a lot of times we're like rushing to get somewhere, or we're rushing to see something, right? But man, I'll tell you what, dude. Every so often you remember that there is a reason why you're here. And I'm not saying this with words. I mean this. Like there's a reason why you're here. There's not no reason.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. I don't know why you're talking or what reason you think I'm here. What
It's a
reason do you
general
think I'm
statement. It's a like cuz you were saying like, yeah, I don't know if the things that I do and say and stuff, I don't know if they're really, helping. And I was just saying like, yeah, there's a reason why that you're doing this. Like the way you said it made it almost sound like you weren't sure of the reason of why you were doing it entirely. Like you had a
Well,
faith.
I explained myself. I did
Yeah,
explain myself.
yeah, I'm agreeing with you actually. I think
Okay. Hey, I appreciate it. What I appreciate that. Thank you. Let me come back to this. I'm curious where this came from, Tarek. Please, I care for you and everyone. I want the best for all of us. But Jack, this has to stop. Jack, I told you before, I can see through your soul. Jack, why are not being truthful my opinion? Why is your opinion that I'm not being truthful? I'm really growing tired of these conclusions and attacks of my character. And of course, right behind him, Tarek, this is the reason why I'm bringing it up, because you and I seem to be able to communicate, but look what you're doing. You're encouraging those against me, and I'd like to know why. Tarek, it's
you have a
see,
very valid you have a very valid way of saying that right there. And the problem with that, Jack, is not what you said. It's what if Tark comes up and tries to explain what he said, it's going to take literally like 3 hours, and it's not going to make sense. Basically, like that's not. I'm not psychic. I'm just like I notice patterns a little bit with yeah. Because like you were saying, hey Tark, I'm curious what you mean, and
Mouse Boy.
yeah, well, that's okay. Sure. How may I serve you, master?
Maybe by assuming that I know what's going on, I don't need to be told what's going on. Maybe actually try to understand me. You mentioned a couple of things. One of them was silence or the patience. I have been, and thank you for noticing that. I believe God is using me as an example and as a messenger for others to learn from. I have been consciously, intentionally working to grow my patience, my ability to communicate, And I think I have been growing here online. And it's through the practice of silence. We can understand each other better when we actually listen. We learn when we listen. Well, we learn all the time, but on these panels, I just see people talking at each other. A thought comes up, they share it. A thought comes up, they interrupt. And it's like, huh, how much is really being learned when everyone's just talking at each other?
Good point.
Thank you. Well, this is the thing I've been learning, honestly, is how to simplify my own life. And I actually click go live and I try to share some things with others that I think could be helpful for others so that they live more fulfilling and less complicated lives. For whatever reason, it seems my value is completely overlooked.
That's a hard thing to, I mean, someone would be, foolish to overlook 100% of everything that you say. I mean, that's not a smart person that would do that, wouldn't you say? That would overlook what you're saying or try to have their own opinions, but you're saying they're overlooking and speaking past people. So, you know, that's an interesting point you bring up.
Well, I'm really hey, Lizard Tree, you are, and I don't want to misspeak either, because I do know that there's people who see the value, see the efforts that see the value in my efforts, and even understand why I've done some of the things I've done. But the people who choose not to understand me seem to be the majority.
They're missing out a little bit, especially if they're going to dismiss a lot of what you say or all of it or anything. Like, no one's going to dismiss all of it. I don't even think that's like physiologically capable. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure, true.
so, but yeah.
However, the dishonest they'll receive the value, but they'll run around disparaging me and my name. I mean, Paul Unslaved is a perfect example. There's many others, Flow State, Chuck. Apparently Tarek today wants to call me a liar too. It's just fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I know, Jeeps, I somewhat agree. Many people say they understand me. Most just don't agree with my intentions and how to get there. You're right. But because of people's disagreements that peace can be had through or found through the systems, right? People want to object to either my words of God or my belief that peace can be found or other whatever other belief and disbelief they want to find to disagree with. My intentions, I'm an ordinary man. I've honestly testified that there's been unnecessary confusion in my past and today. My intention is simply to try and pick up the pieces of my life and try and create a better world as I do it. So why so many people think I
I'll
need
tell you,
opposition?
I'll tell you,
Why do
man,
you
and I mean this from the heart. It's that they don't understand what a miracle is. In general, everybody doesn't understand what a miracle actually is. They've never really thought, what is a miracle? What are examples in my life that I can find that prove to me, however the hell I need proof scientifically or la 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 la, and like, but this shit's a miracle. And so that denial from the rip on a large majority of the population, you're looking at an uphill battle psychologically, you know, or something.
Yeah. Um, Here, I'm dealing with the chat here. I could just talk, but I'm a humble, but I am an extremely honest man. Okay. So this question, is it possible you're missing a few important variables that make your ideas coming to fruition impossible? Yes. Maybe you don't know what you don't know. Correct. That's absolutely it. I've been asking for people to join me as a human being sometime, either today or the near future, to help me find what I don't know. I'm tired of people not part of my life offering forth assumptions and advice, real arrogance.
Oh yeah. Oh
So,
yeah. I can still hear it. You know,
speaking of,
like an
no, here's
echo.
the welcome, Miracle Baby. How you doing today? All right. Well, glad to see you. So, yes, this is what I'm realizing. And I've accepted my role. My role is to learn how to flow, to deal with those that want to trigger, because eventually, well, they'll see what they've been missing. And when they see what they've been missing, well, we'll have different conversations. But what I've been learning is honestly the power of truth. Because, oh, actually, this was the thought I had earlier is the power of truth and the tendency of our minds, right? I mentioned that arrogance is a sign of insecurity. And the reason arrogance comes out to keep people away is to protect the insecurity. The arrogance, though, is short-sighted, believing that one can overpower, one can dominate, one can control another.
Or
It's
can't learn.
or yes, or that another can't learn. It's delusional. But what I think is happening there, it's the tendency of the mind. We take facts and then the mind through imagination, we come to a conclusion.
That
The
is
idea,
true.
the pattern of the ego, though, is to focus on the conclusion. It's to focus on the
Interesting.
yeah, on the judgment, on their answer.
That's true.
The key to life, the key to peace, the key to wisdom is to keep the facts in mind.
Okay.
The
Can,
conclusion is just another
yeah.
piece of information.
May I share one
Please,
fact that I
please.
thought was like the most interesting fact I've heard in, I don't know, in a little while. Well, this fact goes like this. Something like the human eyes are only able to receive so many frames per second of information consciously, or something along these lines. Well, what we're on right now is 60 frames per second, which gives a actual technological advantage over a human's mind to be able to put more information in past the conscious mind. And that is a scientific, logical fact
That technology is being used to imprint memories into mind. Is that what I understood you to say?
You could understand or say it or phrase it in that way, but at the end of the day, if we're able to see 24 frames per second consciously, but we're being shown X amount times more frames, doesn't that leave room for variables in your mind? And so
Sure.
that's why technology would be very influencing, I would say, even. So, yeah, I just want to bring that up. That was the coolest fact I heard lately, I think, is about that. The technological advantage to a biological eye, a human eye. If that gap there does exist, then we're not seeing all that we are being shown in some regard to technology itself.
Okay. Thank you. We're at a time, yes, where technology is advancing. There's technological advancements that many of the general public, and I'm sure I don't know of everything, that's for sure. We live at an incredible time of humanity, but actually, it's kind of tying back to something you brought up earlier, I think. I don't remember what it was, but what we're witnessing and experiencing is the destruction of civilization as we once knew. Praise God in all its ways. I think it's time
Yeah.
too.
I would say I see like a parallel. So like I don't ever say anything's 100%, you know, unless it's like, hey, like this is my word on this, and then I get, that's 100%, you know, but like I'm never 100% right, So like so what I do is I go to points of parallel, I call them, or points of correlation between things. So like even though I
Why?
may not be able to, because it shows it splits gaps in between ideas, so that
Okay,
maybe more ideas can be reached. But
related to the idea I'm suggesting, is there related to the ideas
yeah,
I'm suggesting?
yeah. So like on a cellular level, like literally a cell phone, and like broadcast towers on a cellular. You said like something you use, like not civilian. You said something kind of like that word, but it reminded me of cellular. And so there's like a freedom that isn't afforded to the like what's broadcasted against, not against, but it's just in the air. Like it's.
Are we having the same conversations or not? I mean,
Well, I said I'd parallel it to, yeah, like
okay,
there's parallels to the levels of deception other than a technological advantage as an idea. There's parallel ideas that also connect with that, which is kind of where you were going too, I think.
maybe. I'm not sure. Hey, we've got a couple more guests here. Welcome. Welcome. Did you guys plan that? Did you plan to join together? Are you
We plan everything behind the scenes. Paul and I have been working in cahoots for a long time.
I knew it. I knew it. Conspiring and collaborating, working towards world domination.
One small panel at a time.
I suppose.
But the first step there is to get Brown's boy to stop confusing the fuck out of everybody about what the hell he's talking about.
That's kind of where I was trying to go. Thanks for joining.
It takes someone with patience and understanding to really like get what I'm saying sometimes.
I don't really have either of those.
But I wonder why you want to make someone with patience suffer through that.
you don't mind citing exactly which parts you suffered through, that'd be great. So I could make an adjustment. Or is it just a critique in general, which you want to remain neutral about and won't be able to bring up a specific?
Well, it was partially in jest, but it ties back to what I've been suggesting. What happens in our egoic patterns is we lose track of where we are, what we're doing, and we just start talking at each other. And I honestly didn't understand the connection of what you were bringing up. So, hey, I want to welcome, though, as well, Hank and Chuck.
Thank you.
Why are you welcoming Chuck?
He showed up.
I'm practicing
He's one of your
patience
mods,
and
so he shouldn't
tolerance.
watch that.
Flo, patience and tolerance.
Yeah, and we're being tolerant of you right now, Chuck.
Whoa.
No, there's something greater than us. It's
If you want to fight, we'll fight, but we'll do it on your channel.
Deal.
there you go. Yes.
Patience.
When we get past our feelings and our disagreements, we can find ways to get along. And when we find ways to get along with each other, well, that's what life is really about. I disagree with, and I no longer want to continue living in this world of conflicts. I'm truly sold on the benefits of peace.
What world of conflict?
The world
I'm not
we share.
I thought you said we weren't living in it or anymore or something. You refuse to live in it. But so I'm asking which one?
The one that is real, that's beyond where I am, the world that has men, women, and children experiencing hell today. See, I think
So you're
part of the
choosing to
problem.
live beyond that, you said?
Pardon?
You're choosing to live beyond that, I believe, is what you said?
That's the goal. I don't want to be part of this world of conflicts anymore. And in many ways I'm not. I'm not attached to the world the way that it is, but I love the people in it. And I know the people in it would be better off if the world had no wars. And since I found peace within myself and I was allowed to find the path of healing for myself, I realize what I can understand, anyone can understand. And if anyone can understand what I feel and what I know, and they could feel that healing and wholeness within themselves, dude, the world ain't going to be fighting anymore. Hey, I'm going to step away for just a moment. Please jump as you can, please.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, you got to carry the show now. Come on. Oh, he's nothing to say.
To you, Hank, where are we going?
Where are we going? Let's read the theme. Hell, heaven, choices, and connections. Chat for chat. Open panel. We got on.
Hey, Hank, I have an idea
hell's
for you.
other people. Yeah, hell's other people, but we have to deal with them anyways, unless we want to live in the damn forest. What would you say heaven is, Flow State?
I don't know that you can say that I think that heaven is subjective, as is hell. And so any attempt to define it objectively is kind of a mistake. That's just my own opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't know until I saw it, so I don't know. Chuck, do you have any opinions?
Well, I wish I knew for sure, or if there was a way to figure out for sure if there's an actual heaven or hell. I don't know. I keep an open mind to see if somebody comes up with something concrete or even close to a good idea. A good response. A tie.
Well, they say what is it like? Hell is visual as well as digital. Hell is how they did the Aboriginal
Oh my
stuff
God.
like that.
You got another Smith?
Hey, Paul, did you think of an answer yet?
Hey, I truly, hell, I think anything we experience, whether it's life or death, heaven or hell, it's a state of experience. And that experience comes through our awareness and the environment we find ourselves in. I forgot to mention, right? That right there, that was my poison every single day, man, for years. That was hell. I bring that up because I forgot to mention it. I think Sunday was my 8 years since a drink. I've
Congratulations.
experienced, thank you. I've experienced hell in my own way. And I've also experienced heaven in many different ways. And this life we're given, both are available for us. And if we don't pay attention, we can stumble into both. We can stumble into heaven and hell. And the hell is an absence of hope. It's an absence of comfort, and it's truly miserable.
But it seems like it's a perspective on the situation at hand more than it is the situation at hand objectively.
For my own experience, that's 1000% true. And that's what I realized, that many people we may know, they might be walking around in their own hell. And my hope is, well, to be a light here in the darkness and to walk with love. Once I realized my perspective could change, and that it was, his name's escaping me. Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That idea opened my mind, and my mind started to see things a little differently. And I swear to God, this is why I think my life testimony, I believe it has a greater purpose. Because in the same house, same car, same body, I went from hell to, well, here I am trying to encourage people to turn to God and praise God, enjoy life. Hey, Tarek, I'm feeling blessed. I mean, I believe we've got an all-star panel here. So, Tarek, feel free to join.
Let's start with defining what is the biggest miracle that you see in your own life.
For me, life in itself, I believe, is a miracle. And I see the miracle of life everywhere. And life, to me, love and life are inseparable. I believe life is an expression of love that our Creator has offered forth for us to experience, to learn from, to know. So life is a miracle, and it really is. Any father or mother who's held their child, that that connection, that
Exactly.
feeling,
Can I go one step further here? Like, so imagine,
please.
your life is a miracle. You're here. We're here. We're all a miracle for real. Like, there's so many other people that never got to be alive. That's a like a joke. I don't want to go there, but
It's
um,
true.
so uh, so basically, it's like this. There's something that was before you that put the sun up in the sky and everything went around and the world worked. and you had ancestors that had enough respect to have miracles, that had enough respect to have more miracles, that had enough respect to have more miracles. And here we are going, what's a miracle?
Exactly. But here's where I truly believe it's by perfect design. The way that this life unfolds individually, karmically, spiritually, intellectually. I mean, there's a perfection to the order of nature. And if we simply align with the orders of nature, I really think we have fewer problems. Drop someone. And what I've found for myself, the order of nature, it can only be realized in the moment. And each moment, just like heaven and hell are different perspectives, I can choose a different perspective of each moment. I can adapt myself to the moments. And in knowing that I can adapt myself, that was something. Holy cows. Surrendering, doing the inner work, and with the purpose of changing me, allowing my old ways to go away, it gave me the freedom. I didn't have to be the same personality. I didn't have to have the same complaints and the same attitude. Guys, we're here to have fun. I truly believe that. Life and learning are fun. But the ego mind, that devil within us that created the greed and the selfishness, the governments and corporations, that devilish mind created all the rules for everyone to follow. And it's all those rules that everyone's been following that has Joe Biden as the current president. Holy cows, man. Sincerely, every time I think of that, I've seen so many clips of that guy. How is it, sincerely, someone talk me off the ledge here. How is it that Joe Biden is
The radical left that wanted to institute their agenda.
but it couldn't have happened without
Demoralization program.
There.
You're supposed to feel the way that you feel about it.
That's it. Demoralization. That is exactly it, Flo. Hey, I had some ideas about you earlier.
Uh-oh.
Well, I was considering
He saw your butt picture, Flo.
I was considering the value of labor, right? And the exchange of labor for rewards, but truly the labor is for the purpose of value. We want to share our value with others and be rewarded for it. Flo, I know we've had conversations and I understand your mindset, and I think you work, I don't know if you work hard, but you work committed and devoted. And I bet you do work hard sometimes. But what if work, doing whatever you do? I think it's concrete related or something, isn't it?
Oh, not anymore. I haven't done concrete in quite a while.
Oh, all right.
I mean, mostly I do this. YouTube is definitely not lucrative enough for me to support the whole household. So I've been kind of living out of some money I had set aside as well, and doing some jobs on the side. So it's kind of a hodgepodge. I would say I don't have a single thing. I have a whole bunch of side hustles.
I actually think you've got some wisdom and you've got some abilities to communicate. You may have some other opportunities. I mean, I know there's the opinion of the coaching field in general, and I know the reputation I've gotten, but the idea of mentoring and helping others grow in their health, in their mental capacity, in their discipline, you've picked up a lot of good things, Flo.
Thank you. And I have done a little bit of coaching actually before I met you, really. I've just because there was some demand there. I quit doing that because most of it was like PUA stuff. Honestly, it was young men who wanted to learn how to talk to women, and I mean,
Are you
it comes down
serious?
to courage.
Wow.
Yeah, I swear to God. Probably
Oh,
before I met
Lord.
any of you, and I cannot. What I realized really quickly is I say hi to a girl for you, right? If you are too scared of women to make that approach, then I can give you all the good or bad advice in the world. If you can't hurdle that, then you're not going to go anywhere with it.
Is he cutting out for anybody else, or is it me?
Yeah, your
It
internet's choppy.
sounded like it might have.
Hey,
it came
Flo.
through.
Float State. Hey, I had a question. You were you at the
You
bank
said-
for a little bit, correct?
Wow.
Joe, you were coming in even choppier. Try again, please.
Yeah, I was asking Flow State if he worked at a bank in the past, correct?
Correct.
So at the bank, what would a zip code be used for? Do you know?
As part of the address on the applicant's file. Same thing as house number would be used for, or a street name.
So it's just a designator of some sort.
It's literally just part of the address.
Now, were you in the loan department at all or no?
Yeah, I was a loan officer, primarily commercial. I was a loan officer, and I was a voting member of loan committee, which is where big loans go to. If your loan is over a certain threshold, then it has to go to a committee. That's the way all banks run their loan departments.
A question in regard to the loan, is there a promissory note that's usually attached to this alleged loan?
That's what the loan is.
So there's a promissory note that one would create, the alleged lender to promise to pay back the amount. It's been said that
he's chirping all over.
That promissory note.
Your audio's
It's been
bad,
said
Joe.
that promissory note.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, I'm on a phone. I don't have a modem.
Yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, the audio sucks, and I'm not sure. What are you taking this conversation? What's the purpose?
How the loan, the promissory note gets monetized. So the bank was paid from a promissory note. It applies to you, actually, Jack, just like the zip code. And you talk about you want
how does it apply, Joe? I'm trying to understand how it applies to what I'm here to do. The topic, hell, heaven.
Well, if you want to make change, shouldn't you challenge the alleged validity of the loan?
Yeah, Joe, I don't need you to give a lesson. I don't need you to give a lesson on it here, though.
Would you want that promissory note back, Jack? Would you want the promissory note back? If you're going to lose your home, shouldn't they give you back your promissory note, your equity, or what? What? Isn't that your property or no? Shouldn't these be questions and things we're talking about here? What you just want to talk about frivolous nonsense, then I'll be on my way. I mean, I prefer to learn.
All right. See you, Joe. If you want to call what I'm discussing regarding God, inner peace, heaven and hell, making choices to connect. If you want to see that as frivolous nonsense, Joe Moore, go talk about regulations and someone else's rules somewhere else, please.
So can I make a few statements about what I think he was trying to suss out? The zip code has no significance aside from being part of an address. I don't know where he was trying to go with this. I have heard people like Wizard try to pin more importance on zip codes, than they're given. But as far as I ever saw in the, well, over 10 years collectively, but basically 10 years that I worked in the loan department, the zip code was nothing more than part of the address. And in fact, there's every bank branch, every physical facility has on hand, it's called a CRA folder, Community Reinvestment Act folder. And anybody can go and request to view it at any time. It's available to everybody in the public. And what that does is demonstrate how the bank is not redlining. Banks have to preemptively prove that they are not redlining. So,
got you. Which is just, I can understand both the benefit, and I can also imagine ways it's gotten around too. But thank you. I'm sure his point was, like you were saying, he and I have had conversations about the ingenious involvement of the Postal Service in taking over the property of the nation and the world. And
the promissory note is also, it's the main loan document. That is the loan document. Everything else are attachments, like perfection, right? If you perfect your lien or security interest in some sort of an asset. But the promissory note just says, basically, the bank is giving you this much money now. In exchange for that, you will repay it in this installments, and it is perfected or secured by this collateral. It's pretty simple. Who knows? Maybe I've been on the inside I'm doing air quotes, been on the inside too much, and I'm missing the traps or tricks laid before me because I drank the Kool-Aid as well. But I really don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I think the premise in the concept is pretty basic, pretty simple, but through man's devious mind, a lot of these contracts and manipulation happen. I mean, I think this property I'm dealing with, while the story continues, it's part of that nonsense. I don't know. Hey, I want to welcome also Mitchell. The last time we had some disagreements, but I'm glad to see you back, my friend.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get at the mortgage fraud, which, I mean, until you can learn to separate public and private, it's not going to do you any good. He's just parroting talking points that he's heard on YouTube, so.
What do you mean separate public and private? A home loan is a private transaction.
No, it's not if you're using the public entity, right?
Is this capital lowercase stuff?
Yeah, that's,
all right.
I mean, so yeah, that's what he's getting at, though, is there's no loans without a man's credit. That's essentially what he's getting at. So, a man puts the credit in the form of a note, a promise.
Right, a promise to repay. And the way that that loan is underwritten beforehand, the way that the bank decides if this is a worthy loan is by underwriting the borrower. Basically, what have you done in the past that would lead us to believe you will be capable of and willing to repay this in the future? That is what underwriting loans is. The same way insurance is underwritten.
The point he's trying to make is the man loans the credit to, the credit note to the borrower, which is his all caps name. That's
I don't know what. Okay, I'm not even really sure what that means, but I don't think it's a real thing.
It is a real thing. You don't have to accept it, but it is a real
No, I mean,
thing.
okay. I mean, we can go through this. It's not. That's why if Mitchell wants to borrow money to buy a car or a house or anything, actually a car, because consumer loans are easier than residential. I'm going to want 3 years of your most recent 3 years of tax returns. I'm going to want a current balance sheet. And if there's some reason that if you've got like if you're, say, self-employed, for instance, then I might want a projection cash flow, right? Why do you think that your personal business is going to continue to make money this way in the future? But there's no separation between any entity and another.
There is. And that's when people identify as that that public entity, right? Instead of separating the public and the private. They are the
But this
people
is
are
a
the full
private
faith and-
transaction.
The
This is
people
a
are the
private
full faith and
transaction.
credit. People
The
are the
requ-
full faith and credit. Right. I understand it's
not-
a private transaction, but it's using the public.
No,
Right.
it's not. You've got a
it
private
is.
borrower
It's
and a private
contract using
bank.
the public.
Okay, you can say yes, it is, but that doesn't help us get any more clarity on the topic.
Right. I can't help you ignore. I can't help what you're ignoring. So
Well, I'm not
It's
sure because
the-
what I'm telling you
the
is
whole
that
all caps
you as a
name, you knew what I was
as
talking
a
about right from
private-
the very beginning.
okay.
There is some legitimacy to that, right? If you're going to completely dismiss it, then you're not going to understand.
You know how we know it's not a private transaction? Because
Didn't
it
say
would
it
be
was
a
a private
violation. It would be a violation of privacy laws if I were to disclose what you requested in your loan application. It would be illegal.
Right. It's a private contract using the public.
So the bank creates a trust with that alleged mortgage, right? And they appoint themselves the beneficiary to that. So that's what gives them the ability to foreclose, right?
No,
however,
the security interest does.
that
The mortgage
promissory
does.
note was monetized. Their loan has been paid. It would show up if you asked for a forensic audit of that bank's books. It would have showed up as a positive and net on their books.
He's glitching
So,
out too bad for me to follow.
Based on our ignorance. Okay, Flo, ask Jack to tell you about the zip code and how I sent him a 2-cent stamp and how stamp
God.
theory with hey, ask Jack. He should work at the post. Your code ties you into a federal jurisdiction. And maybe Hank can tell you how jurisdictions work. Okay?
Yeah, so I cannot hear what Joe is trying to say because he's glitching out too bad, but I did hear that he's bringing in post office and legal jurisdiction and all sorts of things. These are all confusing elements. They're not necessary. A zip code is not necessary for a loan transaction unless you're trying to identify the borrower, identify the lender, or identify the collateral.
Am I still on here? Hey, Flo,
Yeah.
did the bank give Jack Federal Reserve notes?
No,
Or did
Probably
they
never
give
put
him
them
a
in the
bank
hand.
issued check?
It probably issued a check
How
to the
can the
seller
bank
of the real
demand
estate.
any type of if there's no substance in our economic system, how can they demand that he pay the alleged loan back in anything? If he didn't get Federal Reserve
because
notes,
he agreed.
first
to
of all,
it.
Federal
It's in a
Reserve notes are a
contract.
promise to pay.
Contract law.
Our Federal
It's in a
Reserve
contract.
notes not a promise to pay.
Look, you're all over the place. Let's deal with one thing at a time. How can they? What was the first part before you moved on to a promise to pay?
So how can they demand Jack pay them back in any specific species? Meaning Federal Reserve
That's the
notes.
denomination. That is the denomination that the contract was signed in.
Because he agreed to it. That's
Right.
how.
The consideration
Who is
with
the
the
other
lender
signatory?
dispersed
who else?
dollars. The lender wants repayment in dollars. The contract is signed referring to dollars.
So who is the lender? Alleged
The bank.
lender.
The bank.
The bank. So when it comes time for this court hearing, will I be able to cross-examine the bank? Would the bank take the stand for cross-examination?
I would assume that a
I'd like to
representative
stand
of the
you
bank,
spoke to the bank.
a representative of the bank would show up. That's how.
Objection, hearsay. Objection, hearsay. A representative lacks first-hand knowledge of the alleged matter, son.
This dude's
Sit down.
retarded.
You're not going to put that on the record. Objection.
Dude, you're
He already
retarded.
sold the house. Oh my God.
But regardless, yeah. So representatives of entities can show up to court. You can have a representative of any state, any municipality, any business. He's trying to play a gotcha game with the, well, that's not, the bank officer is not the bank. Ha ha ha. It doesn't work that way. If it did, then every contract and every lawsuit and every bit of case law involving any entity that's more than just one single human being would collapse.
Right. This is holy cows, man. This egoic nonsense. We're going to outmaneuver. We're going to outthink the banking system. Okay. All right.
And to think that of all people, Joe, who can't get a decent connection, is the one to figure out the loophole to bring down the financial and legal institutions is absurd.
Well,
I
know God works in
Hey, Jack.
ways, but yeah.
Can I just small interjection here, and then we'll carry on. Just want to direct the court's attention, the court of Jack, to the fact that the head of all financial institutions working with Biden and other administrations just the other day could not explain how the banking or money system works. The fact that folks on YouTube think they can one way or the other is fascinating to me.
I played that on. So we should just give up. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that it's like apparent that there's a lot of ignorant, arrogant folks, like folks in chat, who go, never take financial advice from someone living in a car. Okay, how about the head of multiple administrations' financial policy who says he doesn't get it, and why does it matter?
Well, where he got pinched up in that question is what's the purpose of it? And it's impossible to define a purpose of the Federal Reserve Bank except for to take advantage of the people. Really, that's it. So he couldn't justify its existence.
He couldn't explain how the private Federal Reserve lends money and how it all works based on the bonding system. He either couldn't or wouldn't
explain why. He wouldn't.
Right, because I guess the trick is what leads you back to what everyone keeps calling Sovsit mumbo jumbo, is they're trading in the souls of men and doing Ponzi scheme black magic using corporate entities claiming their person/people.
It's not that mystical. The reason that he couldn't explain why is because there is no justification.
Carry on. Slow State has all the answers: how to get women, how the banking
You're
system
right.
works.
It's black magic,
politics,
wizardry, trading, and
he
souls.
knows it all.
That's
this guy.
probably
He's a jack of
Are
all
we trying to
trades.
have an adult conversation here? Are we trying to bring in magic?
Here, Flo, hold on, please, because actually, I agree with what Paul is saying, and it kind of ties, I think, to what Mitchell is saying too. With the banking system, we're all playing with the same tool, the fiat currency, and that, since it's all the same, that is public. And I think, is that where you were going, Mitch? In that it's private.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely an aspect of it.
Part of it.
Yeah.
And the reality is the bigger system. The entire economic system is built upon deception and greed. I know we've been taught, and I know we want to believe it's built in fairness, but we got to be real, man.
It's a Ponzi scheme. I agree with that. The Federal Reserve System is a Ponzi scheme. That's why the clip that Paul is referencing, that's why he couldn't explain it, because there really is no explanation aside from, well, we're extorting the value from the general public.
That's the thing, though. When other folks come in who live a spiritually faithful life and impose an answer, you reject it out of hand. So you prefer all of us say. You prefer all of us say that. Are you saying that Joe's?
No. Hold on. Don't go forward, because I don't understand what you just said.
You're not letting me finish.
Well, because how are you supposed to finish a thought when I don't understand what you just said?
Because you and the tard who either don't understand it or won't explain it because it's a scam, that no one else can explain it in spiritual understanding terms and cause an effect.
Because it's not a spiritual matter.
I know, and you think nothing in this world is spiritual because you're a nihilist infidel.
No, I do think something is spiritual. I think that you being a chronic liar is a spiritual deficit.
That's you.
No, you're wrong.
There is a lot of spiritual in that bullshit. There is a lot of black magic. I'm sorry to tell you that.
And when people can't explain something, they want to level up to the next level, which is normally spiritual.
Well,
but we can explain this phenomenon right here without metaing up to the spiritual.
And I could give you the inverse real quick, Jack, of everything you say. People who can't understand the spiritual realm want to level everything down to the world they know.
Yep.
The great thing about the spiritual realm for people who are con artists,
he doesn't get how this
con
works.
artists love the spiritual realm because it's subjective and cannot be measured.
We'll get there. But Flo, okay, there are metrics that we can point to in this scheme that point towards spiritual answers. And the spiritual means, the greater perspective that's beyond us. The idea, honestly, I think it's pretty black and white and pretty simple, that this entire economic system is built for the purposes of testing our spiritual character, because the system is designed to reward those who corrupt themselves. It makes perfect sense if you bring in even the concepts of the mythology behind God and the devil. It makes sense.
It does. The mechanics of the financial system can be understood without somebody metaing out a level to the spiritual and going, "Oh, it's good versus evil." That's a deflection from addressing the mechanics, which is what I'm talking about. It can exist on both levels.
Fair enough. So how about the mechanics of it? And regarding the spirit, I believe the essence of life is in the truth. The truth is, it's not measurable, it's not definable, but the truth is the true power of the spirit. And we live in a world that currently profits from lies, and it rewards people who keep secrets.
Example.
Organizations. Well, let me say organizations that keep secrets. The governments, the corporations, the banks. The banks actually, I don't think they keep secrets. I think they just use confusion and overcomplication to hide the fact that this is a Ponzi scheme.
So who has lied? If we use your situation as an example, who has benefited from lying?
The people, the private investors of the bank, the private bankers.
What lie have they told?
Well,
deceiving people.
It's hard to point at an individual because it's a spiritual experience we're sharing.
All right, here we go.
There's so many variables.
You can point to an individual easily. The person who just asked the question, who benefits? Someone who has no actual credit or credibility, who can't create anything, who has no soul or spirit or artistic eye or presentment. You're the one who benefits.
No, instead of answering the question, you just ad hom to say I have no soul. Paul, you're a fucking lol cow. Cool your jets.
I get that that's the presentment, but you just asked the question where it's obvious. You sold your soul in order to get credit in a system so you can have an existence you can't create on your own.
Who lied in Jack's home loan situation?
There's probably a lack of disclosure, I would have to say.
Yes. And
possibly a lack of disclosure. Okay. We can say maybe there's a lack of disclosure. Is there any can we point at any for sure lie at all?
No, it can be both. I'm sorry, Flossie. It can be both. It can be lack of disclosure, and also, I'm just saying it can be a lack of disclosure, and also the person that's trying to benefit out of it just turned a blind eye.
All right. So, and Jack, I don't mean to. This is the intention of this is not to scumbag you, just to use an example that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
The lie there was Jack's promise to repay.
In some regard,
he has not benefited from that.
The bank did. The bank benefited from my devoted efforts to try and fulfill my obligation between not only the interest they charged, but the fees and penalties, and the bank won. I've paid for this house. I've paid for the cost that I purchased it. I paid for it more than once.
Then why would you sign the contract?
Which one?
The promissory note, the loan.
I've signed many. There was the original one, and then I refinanced it later because I bought into the American way. That
regardless, my point was to say that no, there has not been any demonstrable lie on behalf of the bank, which is who we're all treating as the winner here.
Okay, you're right. The lie is actually behind the United States government, which protects the bank and that fiat currency, because the role and the activity of the United States government in printing money, it deflated the dollars you and I had worked for and saved. And so their lies are affecting the relationship between me and the...
All right, let me help you out here, Jack. I could simplify this, I think. As much as I don't like to give you an out, because we have our own disagreements, imagined or otherwise, when it comes to that contract and what the intention is and where it goes. The lie, I guess, would be, one of them would be that a corporation or a bank could ever own property when they can't claim any equity or interest in the property, but a man can.
That's true.
So there is no man or woman who can actually come forward and claim more interest or equity in that property. If I could just finish, I know the tards are hollering and screaming in reactionary disgust. But the lie would be the same lie the U.S. government commits every day when it claims that it can own all the forests and all the land in the space between us, when there is no man or woman who can come forth and claim more equity or interest in that land than myself or anyone else, since they are servants of me and part of a corporate body politic.
So your objection is that any entity at all can have any property interest in something.
It's not necessarily an objective objection. It's, you asked me where the lie is or where the fraud is. It's the same place the government's doing it. It's not a coincidence. Banking and government go hand in hand.
And actually, not to defend the system, but I think their way around that is the bank wasn't going to claim possession. They wanted to immediately sell it. And that way they're not possessing the property, but they're possessing the debt again.
Who on the panel believes that no entity, corporation, government, otherwise, no entity can own property?
I 100% believe that. What do you mean?
Property could be held in trust. That's like the closest thing.
That was where I was going. That was where I was going.
Where you're going, slow state. You're not as bright. You're not as bright as you think you are, and I'm like 5 steps ahead of you usually. So I was taking it where I knew you were going. That's not an entity. That's the thing. You could consider it that, but it's actually not, because some man or woman at some point is going to have to put themselves on record to their interest and the equity that lies within that property. An entity and a corporation and agents of a corporation cannot do that. There has to be a principal. Who do you think the principal is?
A trust structure is no different than any other entity structure. The trust holds the assets.
It actually is, because there's living men and women who have to come forth in any venue and claim interest or equity in that property.
Yeah.
Just like there is in the ownership of, say, a corporation.
No, they don't. They say McDonald's owns it. And we can't figure out who the man or woman is who's going to come forward on court and bear the liability of killing a whole bunch of people selling poison. Give me a break, dude.
Then you hold the corporate entity responsible and the shareholders.
No, you don't. You want to continue to work in the world of limited liability and inauthentic corporate mail. Some man or woman will come forth and bear the liability of the wrong that they did or oversaw. This is another place we meet resistance. You just proved again you're a bad faith, dishonorable, corporately motivated infidel.
Stop screeching.
You guys don't have to, because you'll keep talking over me. I have to speak over you.
A trust limits the property beneficiary's risk and liability, just the same way
with corrupt entities who wish to impose fraudulent liabilities on them. It doesn't limit themselves from actual liability of loss and harm that they help to create. Cut the games.
It
doesn't.
How?
Please pause for a moment. I want to recognize and appreciate allowing the interruption. I think we are having some great conversations here, but please, let's not jump to conclusions of each other, and let's be respectful, please, because I think
This
these
isn't
are
jumping to a conclusion. This is 2 years of firsthand experience and him speaking who and what he is, straight from the source.
I know, but I'm encouraging. Please, let's move beyond the personal attacks. Or
I don't have any hate or vendetta for him. I just don't feel yoked with him because we're not living in the same reality.
I know, but we can communicate. We're not in the same reality, and yet, by golly, here we are.
Right. I have faith that he's redeemable, and that's why I'm trying to school him here today, the way his mommy and daddy haven't, on trust and equity and how the law, the land, and conscience works.
Well,
hot word. You're just saying word salad here.
Wait. What about this?
What everyone says who's too slow to keep up and don't know words have meanings.
It's what everybody who says who understands what the fuck you're doing.
Right. The foundation of banking and law is trust and equity, and you don't understand it in any form.
You don't understand it. You don't want to understand it.
Who do you think is a bit more trustworthy in this realm in every way and equitable?
When's the last time you did something on the ground? Which one of us has done the most recent?
Oh my God, we're not going there, Flo. Come on, let's just stick on the subject. Let's stick on the subject.
When's the last time you hung drywall poorly on the ground?
Flo State, I think you're smart in your own area, but come on now, let's just not have a personal agenda against Paul. This has to do with the truth. Stop going around
with a personal agenda, Tarek.
Paul's calling
I'm describing what I believe to be your condition.
I'm describing what I've experienced with you. I'm just describing what I've witnessed with you.
To a competition of who's doing what and not, and that's ridiculous.
Guys, we can.
You're not even an inspiration to your own wife and daughter.
Wait, please.
Now leave family out of it.
Let's leave the family out of it.
You don't have a wife and daughter. Nobody would get with that.
Hello.
Right, because I have dick control. I don't create obligations I can't stand on, unlike you and the rest of the
because your own cringiness and abrasive personality is dick control in and of itself. You don't have to have any dick control. You just have to.
Yeah, you're not an obnoxious, abrasive personality at all, Slow State.
What do I do? Guys, can you please help me out here?
Yeah, let's go back to the subject, please. Come on.
This is not. I know we can do better than this. We all have different perceptions and different levels of understanding of many of the same objective things. And if we can move past our opinions of each other, we can really, I think we could find some peace. Hey, blessings. Shout out to the FBI agents I alerted to the stream. Good. We need more of these people on the inside to be understanding of what the hell's going on.
All we've really proved here today is we have a bunch of people, once again, somehow inserted into the corporate world who don't understand anything except what they want and don't want. And that's why the system is failing.
That's the pattern. We've egoically, humanity, we've been divided and we've become confused. And as a result of the confusion, we've been, well, even more divided, and divided hell has risen here in earth. And I believe, honestly, as we unite together, as we become more whole in our being, realizing the government doesn't control me, the bankers don't control me, I control me with others. We can unite together in these connections, these relationships. I truly believe we're going to change this world. All people have to do is figure out how to get along with each other and stop fighting.
Yeah, because the individual.
Even you laugh after your own rap of bullshit. That's what I love. Jack gives his rap of feel good, sound good bullshit and cracks up at it because he knows it's nonsense. Like there's folks on the panel right now who have changed themselves and changed the world in their own right. Mitchell's one of them.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, like it only takes one person changing themselves and what they do in the world today or tomorrow to change the world, even one 10 billionth of a percent.
That's why I'm on here.
So there's really no point in talking about what we can do when we have an opportunity every day to do something different and by proxy change ourselves and change the world.
Amen. To bring heaven into this darkness, because the darkness is in the world. Tarek, hey, I'm laughing because the simplicity is so fucking obvious. If people stop being asshats to each other, stop disrespecting people who are offering forth, hey, we can change, we can create a better world and actually bring more of heaven to the world. I mean, why am I getting insulted for these ideas? That's just...
I agree with you, Jack, but it's gotta be based on the truth. That's where I said in the chat, I think you're way off now, because I think sometimes you're not being truthful.
Okay, so Tarek, let's face your accusation. You called me a liar earlier.
I wouldn't say a liar. I just say not being truthful.
You did.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Lying. So where is this accusation? How do I defend myself or understand the evidence against me?
Well, I don't want to interrupt the subject. Let him finish first, because you guys are deep into it, and then we can go back to me and you.
Okay,
Is that
there's
fair?
a common theme that comes up here. If we could all just get along, but we can't, because it seems many of us, many times and places, can't admit or update where we're wrong.
Right. I don't have that problem, but
no,
there
you
you
do.
go. And that's what's gonna. And you couldn't have said or done any better right at Essential Casting. Another year of this, huh? The lease is extended.
Well,
you
Paul,
don't have that problem. It's everybody else, and you wonder why you're going to keep experiencing disagreements.
Hello,
Okay.
Paul. I've tried showing you the example. I've tried showing you kindness and humility. And
Here we go. You go right to what you've tried showing me, not to what you haven't shown for yourself and in life and others.
I don't control what you see. This is what my live streams are about, is people, every single one has the responsibility and opportunity to see what is true, not just see what they believe.
Right. Is it possible that now I'm like, watch how crazy I just got? I came right down the middle once again, and I go, Jack, you're right. This is black magic, Ponzi scheming, trading in the souls of men. And also what I know about me is true about you. You're lazy, procrastinating, and don't want to handle your obligations. So Flo, you're also right. Do you see how somehow I got the middle ground, knowing myself on what's going on here, and both are right and both are wrong at the same time somehow?
But Paul, there's more to it than just that. You're right. There's a small part of me that I haven't completely eliminated, the tendency to procrastinate, the tendency to be lazy. I don't deny those, but you cannot continue. You can't deny the good that I've been growing.
Jack, I'm not. I even said Slow State can't even get a loan from the bank because he hasn't established credit once in his life ever. You had to have some credit in order to use it and not repay. I see the good in you.
And so this is why I was shit talking your character, because you're making up lies that you have nothing about. It's a pattern of behavior.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't get a home loan or a mortgage.
You don't think?
No, absolutely not. I'd love for you to go to the bank
mortgage.
and actually get
you
approved.
Can't get a motherfucking driver's license.
You still know from the industry.
I'd
love to see
the homeless guy, the dude who lives off of his grandma mommy is talking shit.
Huh?
Why would he want a driver's license? So, well, somebody has to have one. If it's not him, it's going to be Jennifer.
Oh, you're referring to Jennifer. I see it's a Lobo. I got you. Okay.
Does Jennifer have a driver's license?
That's you can ask Paul that. I'm not bringing any family into it.
Paul, does Jennifer have a driver's license?
I'm not sure what Jennifer and her record and affairs up to a year and a half ago have to do with me.
Is she the person who drives you around? Somebody has to have a license to drive your ass to go get more blunt wraps, right?
We're really going to do this again? We're really going to spin narratives and just ignore what's convenient? Like, Jennifer hasn't been in my life for more than a year and a half, 2 years.
And that's why you don't need a driver's license. She drives you around.
Hello? You guys were with me for 2 or 3 years online when I was riding around, and you saw me on live stream. Where are we going with this? You just conveniently leave out 3 years of online live history you were part of to focus on the last year and a half.
I've been here for like 2 years. I've never seen you do that.
I left with someone who came out
to
me.
How long are you going to ride the coattails of something you allegedly did in the past?
Wow, it's incredible. Okay, whatever makes you feel better, Slow State. Whatever gets you off and makes you feel better at night.
I know we all have the opportunity to grow, to improve, every single day. But we don't really grow or improve if we're continued to focus on the past. And that's the ways of the world. Honestly, that's the slave mindset. The slave focuses on the past, memories of orders and punishment. Fear of punishment keeps them focused on the past. And then, I don't like using that term so loosely, but because there was and is real slavery happening. But what I see is wage slavery in America, and the slaves are fighting with each other to police each other, to keep each other in line, keep each other obedient. And in the meantime, well, our freedom is continuing to be challenged.
Right.
The
But Jack, look at this logic, right? Instead of him commending me for traveling for any amount of time freely and never having the license or any of the crap and standing for what I believe to be the law of the land on all of our rights and freedom and personal choice,
I think
he's going to try to demean my character. He's going to try to demean my character. He keeps talking over me. He just can't let me speak the truth. He's so threatened by it. Right? He's going to try to demean my character and bring up other things to play a game with me versus him, rather than him concede he's always been a coward order follower who's never traveled freely or been free ever in his life anywhere.
Trying to demean I've never been a loser. You're a loser. Actually, that's not true. I have been a loser. You're stuck in being a loser. You're stuck in being a loser, trying to spin it as if it's virtue. Here's the thing. You're doing the same thing that Timmy does. You try to take virtue for not having a license when you just ride around. Now he can't let me talk. Now he can't let me talk.
This kid can't contain his jealous, envious hatred for me and need to compete with me. Even if it's to his own detriment. Fuck
now is it my time to talk? Now is it my time to talk? Now is it my time to talk?
Gets in a car with someone who has a license. I'm Paul Enslaved, so I can never ride in the
car. I'm Paul Enslaved. I want to be given clout for not having a license.
Can I please help? I'd like to.
You're the biggest hypocritical punk coward ever.
Paul,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
All criticism is self-criticism. Let's remember
that's not true.
And the majority of times
it's not.
That's where that scriptural
projection
in. It's you're just what I'm describing is projection. That's accurate. So, Flo, I agree with Paul in that you're having a tough time acknowledging what could be good in the principles and in what's behind what.
May I respond?
Please.
May I respond the whole way through without getting interrupted?
Go ahead, Flow State.
It is not virtue to claim that you are living free because you don't have a license when the way that you travel is by riding with somebody who does have a license. You are still being bound by the laws of the land or whatever, the driver's license laws that you claim to avoid. Just like when Timmy says he doesn't pay taxes, but has other people pay his rent and all his expenses for him, as long as you're living under the laws, which you are, or through the system, which he is, you're still subject to it.
So what's your point that I'm that I'm a loser because I'm a loser failure just like you, and that everyone's under statute, policy, and code, even if I travel in my property freely with no documentation? You got me, Slow Stay. I'm a loser failure just like you because I ride with someone who submits to all the statute, policy, and code just like you. I'll do the Socratic method.
I did not include myself in that with you.
You are the definition of crab in a bucket. I've known guys like you all my life. You're every guy I left on the block.
I did not include myself in that group with you.
You are
because
every
I'm not trying to lie to people about what I am.
Every bar who's never going to let us all out of the box because you want to stay there. So we're all losers if we try to leave.
You're not trying to leave. You're trying to take credit for leaving.
Freedom and true care. You're too cool for it all.
Actually, I want to go back the other way because, Flo, you actually did just what I said. So I'm wondering, can you find the other way of seeing it? Can you find the good in what you see of Paul doing?
No, absolutely not. Why would I play this game with you right now?
I'm seeing if you can be honest. or if you're trapped within the split mind.
Can I see the good? Can I see good things in Paul in general? Can I find something to compliment Paul on, or can I see the good in him pretending to take credit for something he doesn't deserve credit for? Because they're different questions.
You don't see any credit whatsoever for
like I said, I need you to specify. Are you trying to see if I can compliment Paul at all? Because I can. If you're trying to see if I can compliment him for taking credit where he does not deserve it, I cannot.
Okay,
and I will not play along with your game.
Why do you result this in taking credit? You make everything a competition and about debt or credit. That's your slave mind. I don't need credit for saying I move my property freely. You've been with me on the journey for years. I came back in Jennifer's vehicle with her, and I'm not bringing my car, a second car, along with me to prove to you all that I'm traveling freely currently and not riding with someone with a license. The only reason you know what I'm doing is because I've been transparent and honest about everything I'm doing. Something you don't do, by the way.
Well,
but full state, you don't think Paul is like, maybe just my own opinion. You don't think Paul maybe is not driving, like you said, freely lately because he's trying to get the land and everything on, so he can minimize him being stopped all the time and all the bullshit, so he can actually reach his goal?
I think I don't know why he's doing what he does, but my point is that
they're doing it again. I'm in the room. Why are you presuming I'm dishonorable and bad faith and lying like you? This is purely practical and utilitarian. She can't. Well, try again for the retards or the disingenuous folks.
Because you are those things, and I'll treat you as such.
The woman came out and spent months with me. I didn't charge her to stay either, even though it was very limited accommodations. She left and said, "Do you want to come back with me?" I said, okay, let's gamble. I wasn't even comfortable. Let's go for the experience.
The reason I don't ask you is because I don't trust you. I don't know how many times I have to establish that.
I left with her in her car the same way she got there. I'm not taking a second car across country, one person to a car, to prove to slow slave online that I'm traveling freely. Dumbass. You can't figure out what I'm
a lot of credit for traveling freely.
Yeah, you're not standing on your principles.
Wow, this is incredible. You're just not willing to stop the fighting and the discrediting because you want to make a competition out of this instead of accept what is the utilitarian practicality of what
All
makes
right, you know
sense
what would be a really easy way to shut this up? Go drive somewhere and call me from the road.
There you go. I now have to prove something to you again.
For
what you haven't done yet. I have to do again what I've done for 3 years to prove to you what you haven't done yet.
For the past 2 years. Absolutely have not done that for 2 years.
Do you want to ask the solar company who watched me ride up every day?
No, I want to ask the person I'm talking to.
Would you like me to bring them on?
Nope.
All across Greeley, hundreds of miles from Denver
really easy to solve.
6 days a week, you fuck slave? I wasn't even on camera doing it at that point. I had no audience. I was just doing it.
I think we're focused on opinions and not on the facts as much. Okay?
Just call in from the car like Mitch does. All you have to do is exactly what Mitch is doing right now.
There's Flo, it does seem that you've got a pattern, at least with Paul, trying to disparage.
I don't care.
Why? Why don't you care that you have a pattern?
Because I'm not gonna alter my views or beliefs because you're sitting here going, it does seem like I don't care.
Right.
What I'm saying will stand on its own, right?
So you say, but this is the problem, Flo.
I don't need you want me to make a demonstration of good faith by concealing ground. I'm not going to do that.
No, Flo, all I'm trying to get you to do is consider. Now, Paul, I can understand where your criticism and where your view is coming from. However, similar to what I've seen Paul face with you, I've had a taste of that myself. And your willingness to defame and to degrade others, you're not alone. But it's a pattern that I wish people would look at in themselves.
Jack, I got a great question for Full State. Full State. Let's just say hypothetically you were Paul and you're, about the law and the common law and everything else in the driving, right? Would you drive every single day without a plate when your girlfriend has a plate to minimize what all that can happen so you can achieve the land and everything else, or what would you do in that situation?
Can you shut him the fuck up, please? You're horrible. You're like the Castro's counsel. You're making excuses for me that I don't want. I'm not avoiding driving.
I didn't say you don't want.
I didn't say you don't want. Please, Jack. Seriously, he's not listening, and he's trying to defend me, and he's undoing me. He's an idiot.
Okay,
the guy's an idiot. He just gave me something today. He just contributed something to me today, and I have to call him an idiot. I'm not avoiding anything.
I don't care about that. An idiot. I don't care. I didn't mean it that way. You know how I meant it.
I'm not going to move around in her car with her insurance and her responsibilities and take a risk. If my car was with me, I'd move around freely. I already told her over the next year I'm going to get another car for out here. So you'll get whatever you want authentically. And when I go to jail again, you can laugh and snicker. Fuck slave.
So you're not actually free, man, on the land is my point.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Let's not.
It's incredible.
It's a constant.
I'm responsible. My freedom goes away because her vehicle is insured and registered and she has a license. I lost my freedom and rights.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, full state.
It's
what doesn't make sense?
Like what you Paul just said. That doesn't make sense.
No, Paul's giving a cop out. He's just giving.
No, he's not giving a cop out.
Chuck, you're a coward in every place of your life. You know it, and I know it. So why even pipe up?
Come see me. Come see me.
You're Paul. If you're not a coward, then go drive somewhere.
Your wife drunk or doing meth. So let's get real
drive
here.
And meet me. Come on,
Chuck.
Yeah, right. Give me a break.
Chuck's the one you chose to kick out there.
Yep. My patience with Chuck is very limited. And
Paul's saying he beats his wife, and you chose to kick Chuck out there.
I didn't hear him say he beats his wife.
Paul,
did you say that?
Said he beats his wife.
No, I didn't. Again, you're horrible at court. This
what
is
did
why
you say,
you
Paul?
fail. Because I said you'll never go to jail for anything other than doing meth or beating your wife drunk. I didn't say you currently do or have. It's a very different statement. And it's obviously said somewhat in jest, but there's some truth in every jest. You cowards are never going to go to jail for standing on the true law of the land or what's true and what's right. But you will go for meth pipes and getting drunk and acting out, I suspect.
And you went for drugs, for bribing an official. You went for all the same shit. Just you try to take a criminal record and twist it into virtue.
Because it has that man on record saying that my bribe, quote unquote, was me saying that if you take my rights, I'm going to hold you liable at court. That's far from a bribe. That's lawful notice.
Wow. I'm wondering, actually, you know what? I love you guys. I'm thinking maybe it's time to wrap up.
Oh, come on,
I'm
Jack.
going live in 10 minutes. I'm going to jump off and reboot my computer just in case the lag's really on my end. But I will be addressing this more if anybody wants to come by.
Yeah, we're sure you will. That's why you have the @ in your name, because every panel you go on is an indirect grift to try to get a few more people over to your horrible broadcast where you talk about me and Jack and the latest gossip session. Incredibly transparently see-through, shallow, materialistic, and bankrupt of any true meaning, purpose, or value.
It's really become apparent that is true. And you know what? I don't want to say that's the complete story, because I know it's not the complete story. I believe Flo and Chuck and everyone else, we're all here to figure out what's going on, but these pre-convictions, the mind, the constant interrogation and prosecution.
I think that may be a positive quality of yours, and maybe I have the negative inverse mirror, because I presume everybody's potentially going to bullshit me, and I just got to watch good enough to see where it's going to come up. You presume everyone's here to learn and grow and to understand and get answers. A lot of folks are just here. The man just told you when they show you who and what they are, believe him. His first statement was, I have a lot of side hustles. YouTube is one of them. He's here to grift and make money. He's not here for the truth or fellowship or to make a change in himself or the world. Maybe you are. Stop projecting that onto everyone else, Mr. Talcott. It's to your own detriment. If you are, don't presume everyone else is, because they have not shown nor told that.
Well, here's whether people realize it or not, they are learning. And here, and let's be honest. That which comes from a man defiles a man. Chuck, keep revealing your character and lack of integrity, and let's see what history shows for true. So Chuck was in the back, and as soon as Flo left, Chuck's right on his boot. I'm sure.
And I'm going to commend you, Jack, because I came in here today. I used your image and likeness. You know, I'm kind of playing with the branding. I'm doing the please get back to me thing, and you didn't bite on it. You didn't get triggered by it. We just went into conversation one way or the other, and then somehow it got back to someone trying to compete with me and disparage me, as it usually does. And I'm not a victim. It's just, when are we going to let it go? When are we going to move on?
We will.
The odd part is the conversation is good because it's like, I'm weed smoking theorist guy. You're worldly supposed ladies man banking guy. You know, I'm the wild gorilla animal. It's great conversation. It's like Crossfire, where you have like, you know, Alan Combs and Curtis Sliwa, two very opposing kind of lives or lifestyles or awareness, and it works. Till you bring it into fuck you, Curtis Sliwa, your beret looks gay, and I'm gonna beat you up. Right? It's like, we're doing a broadcast here. Can you try to check your personal vendetta, jealousy, envy, and hate for me? Even a little bit for like 30 minutes.
We're gonna get through this, I'm sure. And damn, there was something. I mean, the thing is that's disappointing is I tried planning that idea with Flo that maybe he's got other opportunities to get value by putting out a different form of value, but he seems to be pretty content with his arrogance on economics, and he seems to be happy being a wage slave. But
right, but I could find a middle ground that works for everybody. Right? This is the same thing I had to come to with my father that even he won't come to in his arrogance and ignorance. That if we're going to find a middle ground here to be equitable, then we could probably get a little bit more like each other in certain ways. You know, but then you got to live that. You can't come on here and feign that you're a type A guy and you work hard and you got an ethic and not really be about that. Whether that's me, you, Slow State, whoever. Don't give me the independent contractor nonsense.
What I mean, I see a way to share more value. I think knowledge is one of the most incredible things we can share with the world. And while we have a world that's focused on money, I think one of the best investments I made was when I started investing in myself. The property, that was a good investment and it carried me through a number of years, but the true investments is investing in ourselves, learning more than we used to know.
Yep. And that starts to look like what he keeps calling independent contractor, but I don't buy it. You like, okay, you want me to be equitable again? Ken before the storm is down there. He doesn't like me. He's threatened to kill me and beat me up and go back to prison. I believe him when he says he's an independent contractor on some level. He has equipment. He has houses. He has land. He has evidence of him being a successful businessman in some shape, form, or fashion. He doesn't live in a 1-bedroom Section 8 rental and can't get any credit and doesn't own anything and thinks having 3 cars is wealth. You know, let's just get down to it. You know, like if someone pulls up in a Ford F-150, towing fucking 10 pieces of equipment, has land and a farm and their own fucking house paid off, they might be an independent contractor. They might be worthy of talking about something. If a guy pulls up with 10 bitches or even just one who can say that man changed their life with something other than what's between their legs or what's in their pockets, you got yourself a ladies' man there. I'm not seeing it on any level. Sorry, you can't get me to believe in something that I can't feel and see and buy into.
Here, I might offer you a similar perspective. I encourage you, look for the good in there too. There's confusion behind the selfishness.
I'm not saying that, Talcott. You know how I am, bro. If we put the nonsense aside, I see potential in everybody. I see redeemability in everybody. I talked to that motherfucker privately and said, bro, put the nonsense aside. Let's just do a great broadcast. He can't get it done. He is constantly in his feelers. You don't hear him? Play the clip.
No, he is.
Bro, I went on his panel the other night in good faith. I gave him 30 minutes of good conversation and good content. I even deferred to what he was saying because he was making some good points. I wasn't being disingenuous either. You know, I'm not saying anybody ever is a complete lost cause or they don't have a handle on some things. They just go the whole way with it with a false self. I got the answers to everything. I've lived the whole life. And I go, could you show me and tell me? They got nothing to show, and what they're telling makes half, if no sense.
Well,
so it doesn't add up. The math is not mathing.
You've said that about me too, but others have.
Please don't get into this. You're the host.
I know.
I want to end this on a high note. Don't get into this.
I know. I heard my words. What the fuck are you doing, Jack? Yeah, actually, thank you. Flow state too. I think we had some good conversations, some interesting opinions for sure. But
I think it was great, Jack. I wish you were extended so we can get really deep to the problem here, or get down to what's really true.
There's always tomorrow.
Hopefully. You're right. You're right.
Unless we get taken to a camp or die in our sleep.
There's always that hope.
Hey, Paul, I apologize. I didn't mean to.
Which one? You hoping for the camp or the death in your sleep, or both? Why not, right? Let's gamble, right? This is a Luciferian beast system simulation. Let's go all the way with it.
Absolutely.
And Paul, my intention was not to say you are not driving. You're right. That was not my intention. I said it wrong, but that's what I was trying to refer to. Put them in your
bullshit and make excuses and justifications, I'm a lot better at it than you. That's not what's going on here. So please don't make it that.
Yeah.
Like, if you want me to sit here and tell you every time I got behind the wheel 6 a.m. and on the way back at 5 doing my job with no papers and no plate, I had fear going through me. I started doing it and I continued doing it. Do you think once you start doing that and continue doing it that you ever get it out of your system? Like, what are we even talking about here? As if I should stop doing what I'm doing, or as if what I'm doing wasn't valuable for me and I didn't learn something about me or go past my fear. Even if I got locked up today or I never came back, I went past the fear of mine. Like, you're not going to take this experience from me. Just like I'm not going to tell Jack Talcott fears he's had going to Spokane Council the other day. I could get on there and shit on him. Jack, you didn't talk as good as me on here. He went. I could talk shit on Brian O'Shea. He went. I know what it's like to get on stage. It almost is more fearful than traveling without license. They say public speaking is close to a fear of death, if not more than that, statistically. So I'm not going to sit here and try to take a motherfucker's experience of going past their fears and going more toward what they see as actualized and realized, even if they don't have it all together. And you're not going to take it from me just because you haven't done it in your life and you're a coward.
Yeah.
Amen.
That is true. But Paul, it does get better. Like, even the first time I took all my stuff out and I traveled every day without nothing, it was a little bit fearful. Now I don't even care. It doesn't bother me at all.
That's what I've learned about life. If we can push into our discomfort and grow our comfort zone into doing more things that are right, good for us, healthy for us, that's the way to live. Expanding the comfort zone. Because otherwise we get trapped into old ways of doing, old ways of being. And if we don't start pressing back against some of the oppression and regulation, well, it's going to be worse for our children. And I care about everyone's children. It's time for us to cautiously and with care, it's time for us to unite and helping each other defy some of the old ways.
But Jack, you're very bright. I think you're very bright and you're very articulate in your own way. Why, like you as a man of God, as your faith and everything else, why don't you take that license and just throw it out the window, for example, and for example do what Mitch does? Why is it like Mitch, the non-believers, or Paul or whoever, O'Shea, is the ones that are traveling with nothing on and taking a chance? And when I see a lot of people that are religious that have license and obey by the
again, Jack, he's doing it. He can't help himself.
I know.
Okay, what am I doing, Paul?
You literally said that all the religious people you know are not walking the walk. They're all hypocrites, and that the ones you just judged as unbelievers are actually walking in the way. Is it possible we're the true Christians and you guys keep taking credit for the shit you're not doing while we're not taking credit at all because it all goes glory to God and the truth? Holy shit, right?
Did I say I'm taking credit for it? I never said that. I said, why
You're
is it like the
calling
people that are religious?
unbelievers when motherfuckers are beyond belief. They're knowing and doing and being and creating.
Okay, I'm not talking about. You misunderstood what I said. Maybe I'm not talking about. I was talking
You're
about Mitchell.
really unclear then in how you communicate. You
All right,
just
maybe I'm
said the unbelievers like me, Mitchell, and Brian O'Shea. Why? Because we were homeless at one point by choice, some of us?
You're right. You're right. Paul, 100% you're
Usually
right.
am, and you're wrong, usually.
No, my communication is not, my intention is right. My communication was
all the
wrong.
religious people who go like get loans and pay tax and vote for Donnie and go to church and suck priest dick. Yeah, the real ones, right? Not the unbelievers like us who just live in a car sometimes. You know, we're really lowly, unreligious, ungodly people. Your judgment and arrogance comes out even in your attempt to try to make sense and understand. You can't help yourself.
I got you, Paul. My communication skills, I need to work on it. I get 100%. My intention is, why aren't the people that are so close to God doing what you, let me rephrase, you, Mitch, O'Shea, or some other people are doing?
The question leads to its own answer. Every problem contains its own solution. Every question, its own answer. Because they're not close to God. Hello?
Okay.
If you're making the premise that you have to be closer to God to do what we're doing, well, then the ones who are doing it are attempting to be or are closer to God, while the rest are just talking about it and going to church.
Exactly my point.
And genuflecting and being hypocritical.
Thank you for clarifying my point. That's exactly what I meant.
All right. Thank you for making that point, Tarek.
Yeah, and Paul, again, my communication is bad. I don't mean, even earlier when I referred to Jennifer, it's probably my communication skills. That's all. My intention was to say something else. I'm working on it.
I don't take offense to it. I really don't take it personal. I've learned in doing what I'm doing that I can't take it personal. You have to forgive folks, for they know not what they do. They're not even realizing their indoctrination is pouring out of them in their arrogance and ignorance and presumptions. And it's like, okay, you want to presume to a certain degree? That's fine. I do it all the time. It's then when we get to the assumption and then the false claim and then the doubling down and the just lack of adherence to the record and acting like we don't know what's going on. Like, how many times do we have to meet and do this before we all get a handle on what's going on here? Like, it's like every day you get up and deny God and God's existence, showing up as man in different forms, communicating the experience of the all in its own way and going, what's happening here? Tell me more.
We have eternities to figure it out, lifetime after lifetime. And I think many people are waiting till the next life to figure it out. I don't know if they're that interested in trying to understand.
It's already been figured out. They're waiting for the next life to actually do something different than what they've been shown by their slavelings, the slavelings that have come before them. Yeah. There's nothing left to figure out here. It's pretty damn simple. We overcomplicate the shit out of it.
Exactly. That's what I realized. And all we got to do is all we have to do is help others figure out.
But Jack,
how
you do the same thing. What are you talking about? You always deflect and go back to love. That's the issue I have with you lately. Every time I ask you a question, instead of you go back to love. It's not all about love. Love is very important, but not everything's going to be deflected to love.
In your life, it's not all about love.
No, it's not. I'm not saying it's not.
It is till it isn't, right? Like, it is in the sense of, if we're looking at it as true love and true care, the first word being true has to be based in truth, not my truth, your truth, the truth of our existence as I am that am. Pure conscious and awareness beyond the wants, non-wants, desires, and personality with its disorder. So yeah, it is all about love. If true love, the first word being true, is the state of beingness, not codependent false love, the falsely empowered codependent dynamic we see expressed oftentimes in our lives and relationships and on these panels.
Correct. And then when I
totally agree.
When I say love, that's what I'm talking about, is love without condition. It is, I don't know what, Tarek, earlier, I'm sure that's where you jumped to the conclusion, because on the panel too, when I'm talking about love and uniting, that you're saying no and you're calling me a liar. But what I've learned, love Love is, it's not the attachment. Love is that power. It's that force that is in nature. It's within us. And love is that which connects us. So if we realize there is a connection between us and all else, you love yourself. You love your neighbor as yourself. And
Well,
love
this is where, Jack, that I've said for a while now, and we may have to start making an active practice to do it if you agree. I mean, I've started to do it in my life. I've replaced the term love with care, because I believe that care more accurately describes the state of beingness, that if even no one else is around, still it compels you to do and be and have better. It's not contingent upon someone else's presence and validation, right? And it has to be based in truth for you to truly care. So this love thing, it's become romanticized. It's become sort of chaotic and confused. And I think that it muddies the waters, right? If we get to care, then that's like the sacred feminine principle. And what's the masculine principle? Action. You got to care enough to do and be something different. And they're united. If they're not, well, then the world is going to go into decay and decline, as we've seen.
I agree.
Very true.
And
true love can be very painful.
It can be painful. But actually, well, I don't want to get into that. Regarding the care, the downside to care is that often we've been taught to associate care with worry. And so admittedly in my past, I convinced myself not to care about others. I'd be like, I don't care. I can't deal with it. It's not my problem. And that lack of care came from I didn't want to worry. But
right, but that's a selfish aspect of care, right?
There you go.
That's like you say, that's conditional. I mean, if you have a plant and you care for it, do you also practice worrying about what's going to happen and not? No, you just give it what it needs and surrender the rest. God will take care of the rest for millions of years, right?
Care is nurture.
Yes.
But I get what you're saying. In our culture, society that we've grown up in, care has become a detriment to one, right? You can't profit, you can't succeed, you can't climb the ladder, because the more you care, the more you have to be empathetic or practice peace and surrender. That doesn't do too well for the boardroom a lot of times, is what the narrative is, right? So yeah, I mean, again, care is going to invoke that worry, but that's going to be a better practice for us to practice care without invoking the worry when we don't get what it is we want, or when the expected outcome doesn't take place, right? It's just more work for us, more practice.
That's what I've been learning.
Yeah.
Hey, I do think it's time to wrap up. We will save some energy or renew energy tomorrow.
All right, I'm going to jump the hell out of here before I run my mouth the wrong way and get myself in trouble. I appreciate everybody here and our experience for the last couple of years. It's been a hell of a ride. And in case I die today of pizza and pasta, you know, it's all love at the end of the day, even if it's not, right?
It is. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, Paul, sincerely. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I got
it. No. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mitchell.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate what you were saying earlier, Tarek. I know it didn't come out as clear and concise as we all wanted, but, you know, definitely, I see what you're saying. I didn't take any offense. It did strike my attention right away when you called me a non-believer, but I think
Mitch,
we resolved that.
Remember that time you told me about, I forgot what it was. You told me something. I told you, yes, it's my miscommunication at times. Like I don't maybe language it the right way or get my point across. I meant to give you credit. You, Paul, O'Shea, even myself. I've been putting myself in situation, but I haven't videotaped and all that. But you got to stand for the truth. Like a lot of people talk about this stuff, but doing it is a different situation. That's when you actually face your fear and do it. And then it kills me that Mitchell, that people like sometimes rip on him all the time. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's the one that's out there and challenging the system and doing all that. That's what I was trying to say.
I appreciate what you were saying, but my final kind of thought is I think the idea of you'll own nothing and be happy comes from the idea of eliminating the private and putting everyone in the public sector. So I think if we can recognize that separation and we can drop the personality politics, then we can have the delineation of, you know, what that is. We can objectively observe and analyze the facts and the truth, and not try to bend the truth to fit whatever personality politics that we're wanting to push. So I didn't articulate that very clearly, but you know, I really think it ties into the same concept of the trying to etch out the true God, you know, so that way others can be perceived as gods. And so yeah, that's my perspective, and I appreciate the conversation. I felt like it was chaotic, but it's necessary. Hopefully we can get better at it. Peace.
Thanks, Mitchell.
Thank you.
And Jack, let me make sure I'm clear with you, okay? Because maybe I don't want you to get like a sense of feeling or emotions that I'm against you or anything like that. I'm never against you. I'll always protect you. For example, if somebody's doing you wrong, I don't care who it is. And when you speak the truth, I'll say you spoke the truth. Just because we may have different opinions on things, and there's just opinions, and about the truth and the objective truth, and I will still respect you, and we can just talk about it, and maybe for tomorrow, like he said, and we could go a little bit more in details. But I want the chat to understand, and you personally, I have nothing but love towards you and anybody else, no matter how much I disagree with some things you do, because I know I'm not perfect either. In peace.
Thank you, Tarek.
Yep.
You said, here's one thing though, you said you'd stand with me when someone is against me. And for you to call me as untruthful without the evidence, but just because of your thoughts, brother, that's doing me wrong. So we'll talk again in the future and try to find out where you think I'm not good. But Tarek,
we'll talk about it, Jack. But again, I didn't mean untruthful about a lot of stuff. Maybe it's a misunderstanding certain things, I think, and this is my opinion. Maybe you could prove me wrong. So tomorrow we can talk about it and we'll go from there.
Will do. Respect to you,
Thank
brother.
You, Jack. You have a great day. You too.
Thank you, Tarek.
Yeah.
Sean, are you there?
Yeah, you know, I was hoping I should have came in a little bit earlier. I was hoping to ask some questions about how to gain power of attorney and whatnot, but that's probably something I could bring up on Paul's, I'm sure. I got a lot to learn. I was hoping some people with a little more knowledge could help me out. Mitch included in that. I know where to go. So much love, Jack. Blessings all. Take care.
Respect, Sean. Thank you. Thank you for joining. To all who joined in the panel today, sincerely, thank you. Flo, Chuck, Paul, Tarek, there was a number, so many others, even those that got put to the back, Joe, whoever. Thank you for joining. Sincerely, brothers and sisters, today the idea, I think we covered it, so I won't go real long in the closing words, but the idea between hell and heaven, recognizing the power of our choices, and our thoughts, it can keep us divided, keep us competing, keep us battling each other. The power of our choices, it can divide or unite. It feels much better to unite with the present, to be one with the present moment and those who are with you. Because in the moments of our lives, that's how life happens. And in the moments where we share together, it's really an opportunity for us to share the truth, to share the wisdom, the true gifts of God, the true goodness of who we are. It can only be shown and known truly in the present. Because in the present, that's where we get to, well, show the truth of who we are. Brothers and sisters, sincerely, thank you to all of you who joined in to see the truth of what's going on here today. And I look forward to the future. I see a future for us all. It's happening. I truly trust and believe this is God's will. God's will is for mankind, me and you, and all of those like us. I truly believe the purpose is for this lifetime for us to know the truth of love, And the truth of love flows through you, with you, for you at all times. It may seem distant, but that's only because of the mind, the vastness of the mind. So bring your mind in line with your heart to become one and whole with the present. And in that wholeness, in that completeness, in that moment of peace, fill yourself with the appreciation, the gratitude, the peace of mind, the knowing that's beyond understanding. If you fill yourself with the knowing of love, and love is what you are and who you are, with a mind that is focused on love, your heart will guide you. And please, I hope it guides you back again next time. Please do the subscribe thing, hit the notification, and tune back in again. Same time tomorrow, hopefully. We'll see what the future brings. Till next time, choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. Thank you all, and God bless.